Hey, Magic fans, welcome back. This is your captain speaking here on CapnclydesMTG. Today, we've got more catastrophic. I'm kidding. We got more effects of Faithless Looting unbanning in Modern as it's kicking up dust and old decks everywhere. And I think I'm here for it. So before we get started, don't forget comment, like, subscribe. Links down below, eBay, TCG, Player Store, all that good jazz. Patreon, become a member on YouTube, yakety schmackety, all that. So as we wrap the year up, let's take another look one last time at some more decks and cards popping in value, all because of little old Faithless Looting. That's right, the culprit of today's video is this little fella, and no, it's not Dak Faden. It is the Sorcery Faithless Looting. 1 red, draw 2 cards, discard 2, flashback for a red and 2. The flashback is great. I've used it before in a pinch. However, the 1 red, draw 2, discard 2 is where it's at. So, what other decks than what we've already covered could we be seeing a reemergence of that already don't have some kind of weird spinoff or whatever? Well, we've seen some interesting ones, believe it or not, and I've found 2 I think we should honestly talk about, because I'm not gonna lie, they're kind of right up my alley. So the first deck we got here is this little fella. So I got the whole deck list for this one. This is really all around Hollow One. Hollow One, if you guys didn't know, is a 5 colorless artifact that is a 4/4. It's only $2. I liked this card a lot when it first came out back in the Amonkhet days. Every card that you discard, the casting cost on this goes down by 2. So if you discard 3 cards, this is basically a free cast spell. And it's a 4/4 for 5 otherwise. So on the surface, not so hot. However, a turn 2 4/4, or turn 1 if things are going right, 4/4 for free is serious beef. Also, don't forget it's got 5 casting costs. You cannot fatal push it even if you sacrifice a fetch land. The normal cheap removal spells, Lightning Bolt, it's got 4 toughness, you name it, is not going to work. You're going to have to wait at least 1 turn to kill this thing. And if there's several of them on the board, it's going to be a bad time for everybody involved. When I mean everybody, I mean just the opponent. So, in this deck, we obviously have Orcish Bowmaster. Oakish. Oh, wow. Just a whole bunch of orcs with big fucking oak trees. Anyway, Orcish Bowmasters, we know, black and 1. Whenever someone draws an extra card, it deals a damage. It makes a guy. This card has also seen some amazing resurgence just because, well, Faithless Looting. Draw 2, discard 2. Very popular. Also, Street Wraith is available. 35-cent card. Yes, it's 5 mana for, I think it's a 3/4 Swamp Walker. But the kicker here is you can literally discard it for 2 life to draw a card, i.e. on turn 1, Mountain, Faithless Looting, discard Street Wraith, draw a card. I now can cast any hollow ones in my hand for free. Also, we have the Blazing Root Wallow. This is a 1 red Madness 0 creature with the ability to pump. Again, if you discard it, you cast it for free, so there's no harm in discarding them. Matter of fact, you kind of want to. You can build 1 hell of a battlefield on the bottom. We have Inti. Basically, on turn 2, if you put a whole bunch of creatures on turn 1, you're just going to start drawing, and you can discard to exile a card. It's just more ways to discard. Flame Blade Adept, and another amazing discard spell. I believe it's a 1/2 or 1/1. I can't remember off the top of my head, but whenever you discard to it, it gets plus to the attack. And I believe it has Menace, which means it's insane. Detective's Phoenix, another card you don't mind sticking in the graveyard. And because this is a red-black deck, you got some of the premium removal spells. A couple Fatal Pushes, 2 Lightning Bolts. With Faithless Looting, you also have Burning Inquiry. An amazing card. 1 red. I believe you draw 3, discard 3 each opponent. A little damaging sometimes, but if you don't discard your hollow ones, again, another way to turn 1 a 4/4 onto the battlefield. Can be dangerous, can be nice, and it is insanely powerful. So here's the deck list. This deck is pretty much a budget deck, minus obviously 4 Orcish Bowmasters. If you don't have those, you could honestly just put more removal in if you needed to. However, you really need those in the deck to stop other decks like this. Well, honestly, any deck in Modern now with Faithless Looting or any other draw effect to stop their shenanigans. So that's kind of a must. But if you look at the rest of the deck, I mean, we're talking $2, $3 cards. The land is the most expensive thing out of the whole deck, but then again, let's be honest, fetches are just that, the most expensive things in every deck. So, but to be fair, you honestly don't have to run fetches. Notice there's 2 Scalding Tarns in here. You literally could just run more Foothills or something else that was cheap. You don't have to run dual lands like Blood Crypt. I mean, if you notice, I mean, you're running just black and red. You're not casting a Street Wraith. It's not happening. For an ideal setup, you need to run the deck as you see it, but you could budget this out for almost the same powerhouse effect without fetches and without a Bowmaster. Just putting it out there, which is why I thought it was really cool to kind of highlight this deck. So yeah. Also, something else Faithless Looting has struck a chord with is this little fella right here. The Archon of Cruelty has seen an amazing price spike due to Faithless Looting for a very similar reason, the fact that you can put this in the graveyard. And you may be thinking, well, how does that help? Well, hear me out. First off, we got 120% spike. It says here $20. They're a little lower than that. People have put more on the market since they've noticed this. So, matter of fact, I'm getting ready to open a Modern Horizon 2 box at the beginning of the year. Hope I get a couple of these. Anyway, goes from around $5 up to, I think it's around, there's one listed for like $8 when I did the video. Maybe there'll be more. It was also light play. Most of them are going for the market price around $12. You see here that are listed, but not many of them are at $12, or at least there wasn't the filming of this video. But there are a few, and some of them may be coming to market, and there'll probably be more once people figure it out. So if you got some to offload, now's probably the time. But why is this card spiking? Because Faithless Looting got unmanned. Well, there's a deck, and it's not necessarily this deck in particular, but back in my day, there's a deck called Ten Fins. They did a lot of reanimation from the graveyard. And if you notice here, the Archon of Cruelty, it says when it enters, not how it gets there, but when it enters. Target opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. They discard a card. They lose 3 life. You draw a card and gain 3 life. Very powerful swing. Now, on turn 1, Faithless Looting can put this bad boy straight in your graveyard because you are not casting this. Not in any stretch of the imagination. But once you have this in your graveyard, other cards come into play. Cards that pull it out of your graveyard, and then you get to use this little fella here to blink it so that it comes into play more than once. This has rebounds. You can blink it several times. Again, it's also a 6/6 flyer. It has 8 mana cost. You can't Fatal Push it. You can't Lightning Bolt it unless you got 2 bolts. And if that's what's going down, you're winning anyway. Trust me. Because if somebody bolts your Archon twice, once it's in play to make sure you can't blink it, you just gain 9 life instead of 3. That's how that works. So if you're going to ephemerate it, how do we get it onto the battlefield? Well, there's lots of good options. So in this deck, mainly there's Goro's Vengeance. Black and 1. Return legendary creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Gains haste. You have to exile beginning your next end step. Oh, darn the luck. But strange that you have it, but you know, on turn 3, you can Goro's Vengeance that bad boy on the battlefield, swing with it, and if something happens, you don't get to hit him with it, darn the luck. If you do, sweet. And then ephemerate it. And once it blinks, you don't have to sacrifice it. It comes back into play. It triggers again. It causes all the shenanigans of them discarding, killing all their shit. You gain life. They lose life. You draw a card. And now you get to keep it off the Vengeance. And I know what you're saying. Seems like a lot of work, Captain. Well, you're probably right. However, there's other cards that also go along with Goryo's Vengeance and Ephemerate. One of those cards is you could also run this in a deck with Atraxa the Grand Unifier, which has been very popular in the deck, or in any animation deck, really, but not really modern because there hasn't been a good way to get these cards into the graveyard. Well, guess what? We now have Faithless Looting. And not only do we have Faithless Looting, we also now have the Psychic Frog, which will let you just flat discard into the graveyard for giggles. The only downside is this is very, very fatal pushable. Very. However, this is not very boltable. Played correctly, you can discard your way to make this big enough that it can't be bolted. Unless they want to bolt it twice and basically bolt your discard spells. And that may be bad for you. It may be good. Either way, you're gaining life. Stuff needs to go in the graveyard. Gets there anyway. Kind of a win-win. So, I mean, there you go. But you also have other cards to get things out of your graveyard once they're in there. If it's not Goryo's Vengeance, you also have Persist. Return target non-legendary creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with -1/-1 counter on it. Pretty sweet. This will help you get your frog back if you need ways to discard or any other card that is a non-legendary, i.e., not Atraxa, because Atraxa is legendary. But let's see here. Oh, look, the Archon's not legendary. So you can persist it onto the battlefield permanently for a black and 1. Basically, Animate Dead. This right here. Where's it at? This is Animate Dead. You remember Animate Dead? If you don't, well, go check some of the old stuff, because back in my day, we used to animate dead shit onto the battlefield. It was an enchantment, gave it -1/-1. If the enchantment died, so did the creature. This just puts it in play with a counter on it. It's basically Animate Dead, where you can't disenchant it to death. Persist does not get enough love. This thing is so good. So yeah, Goryo's Vengeance, Persist. Also, once it's on the battlefield with a counter on it, it's now an Ephemerate target. Your opponent wants to deal with it. Hey, I'm going to kill that. Put it back in your hand. No, you're not. I'm going to blink it. So when it comes back in, I'm going to fuck your world up some more. So, yeah, the Archon being the main target because it can be persisted is very good. Now, the only way to really deal with this, which is going to make this card very popular, that's why I put it on here, is Solitude. Exile shit from the battlefield. Now, it's hard to do this when people have Ephemerate up. So this is really not the best answer. However, this may be the best removal answer that you're going to have for these big nappy creatures so they don't just keep coming back. Because if you let it go to the graveyard, they're just going to put it back into play. So along with this, other kinds of graveyards hate is going to play a major key. And I really think Surgical Extraction is probably going to be the next card to really pop in price. And if I'm wrong, well, that won't be the first time. I'm married twice. I'm on my third marriage. I'm wrong quite often, actually. But anyway, I still think Surgical Extraction is going to be a hell of a player in Modern moving forward until they either reban Faithless Looting or there's a better Surgical Extraction card that does what Surgical Extraction does on a better scale. And don't worry, I'm sure Modern Horizons 4 will have that for us because that's Wizards. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching, guys. I would have a deck list for this, but I was putting it together, and it got real scary when I saw the card prices. And woo, I was joking last video about mortgaging your home to play a deck. You will mortgage your home to play this deck. These cards are god-awful expensive. Holy crap. Yeah. But if you want a deck list, I probably can find one somewhere that's remotely close. And take the prices off so you don't have a heart attack. Or I can leave them on so you can look at it and go, oh, right, I'm not building this. But anyway, thanks a lot for watching, guys. I do appreciate it. Until next time, be kind. And as always, I hope to see you across from the game table. Hopefully not playing this silly shit. Jesus. Because I will be. Ha ha ha.